Alright, so what we're doing now is, and I'm not sure what's happening, but my shadows that are showing up on here have all of a sudden become they're like triangles everywhere. They're not smooth at all, and I can't find anything in settings that caused it to start doing this. Or, you know, I'm getting 40 frames a second up here, 35 frames a second. I'm not really sure what the hell happened with all that, because it was working just fine. But we're going to ignore that, or try to. So right now what I have done is I've come to settings, and inside of the joystick section, I've gone into the flight controls, and down here at the bottom it says control sensitivity. I clicked on that and I changed the pitch stability augmentation to 65%. So before everything was set to 50, I've changed the pitch to 65% for the augmentation, stability augmentation. The other thing I did, and I'm not sure what difference this makes or if it makes a difference, down here where I have my trim selected, I changed my trim over to being mechanical instead of servo. So it's a mechanical trim. I'm not sure what difference that's going to make, if any. But we're going to give this a try and see if the airplane flies any better. It's a little distracting with all these triangles everywhere, but I'm going to try to work around that. I'll try to figure that out in another video. So now what we're going to do is we're going to release the brakes, add power. We're flying from Thomaston up to Falcon Field, so we'll see how this goes. We're in low fog, so it's going to be a full instrument setup. 80, 90, 100. Normally the airplane would be flying on its own by now, but it seems perfectly content to drive like a car. So, and I'm having to pull back on it quite a bit. We're going to go ahead and pick the gear up. I'm going to do one trim up. And that seems to have maybe given me, I've got 2,000 foot per minute. I'm going to do one trim down. So we're back to having no trim at all. Go ahead and pull the manifold back. RPM back. Alright, we're at 0 climb now, so I'm going to go back one trim up. So we went from 0, 500, 1,000, 1,500. So we're going to climb straight ahead up to 3,000 feet, and so now we're down to 1,000. So the climb has started coming back to 0. So we're at 0 climb, we're 2,000 feet. Now we're back up to 500. 1,000. Alright, so while it's climbing, I'm going to go ahead over here and we're going to go to procedure. We're going to select an approach, and before I do that, I'm going to, we'll just shoot an ILS 3-1 approach, and we'll do, let's see, I'm going to do it over here so I can get an idea where we're going to fly. So we're going to go up here to procedure. We're going to do an approach. We're going to shoot the ILS runway 31, and coming from where we're coming, let's shoot it from, let's see, I guess we'll go from ECAT. or PCAT. So we'll go from the initial approach, add the route, and then over here I'm just going to tell it to do it from PCAT. Load. Alright, so hold the clear to get back over here. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're about 3,000 feet, so I'm going to pull the RPM back to about 2,200 RPM. Leave the manifold about where it's at. So we are returning to a 266 degree heading, or no, I'm sorry, I don't know what this is actually telling me over here. We'll figure that out in a second. Alright, so we are at 3,000 feet, so I've got one click down on the trim tab. Get her turned around here. It looks like a fairly close to a north heading here. Alright. So we're still climbing at 1,000 foot per minute. Now one thing that's nice, it's still, I'm going to do one more click down. It's still a very immediate response when I push forward and pull back on the stick. But the one thing that is better is it doesn't go immediately into the opposite dive. In other words,
destination ASOS is 118.525.
So we'll get rid of that. In other words, it's climbing. When I push forward, it comes down, but when I let go, it kind of stops where it's at. It doesn't keep going to a 3,000 foot per minute descent. So hold what we have here. We're still climbing, so I'm gonna go for another down trim. But the trim, when I'm trimming it, is not shooting the airplane off into the other direction, so it actually does seem to be working a little bit better. Alright, so briefing this approach, we're supposed to come in at, looks like 2,500 feet, so we'll go ahead and go back down to 2,500 feet while we're out here. So I've put it in about a 600, 700 foot per minute descent. It does seem to be holding it okay. I'm gonna go one more trim down. So we're coming down to 2,500 feet. The whole approach is set at 2,500 feet. Another trim down. But it's a whole lot more stable. I will say that for sure. All right, so we are 7 miles to our turn here. We're now at about 2,500 feet, so I want to try to arrest our descent. So right now I've got it trimmed to a down position, so it's slowly descending down. So one click up, and that immediately takes me into a climb, but it's not drastic. So we don't want to climb; we want to stay where we were at. It looks like it's doing fairly well. Alright, so our turn outbound here is 133 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead over here and change this guy to 133 degrees. We are 3 miles out, so I think I'm going to start us a nice easy turn here, because we've got a pretty drastic turn to get outbound. So I'm pretty much flying the way I would fly the real airplane so far. So we're coming around to 133 degrees. I need to go ahead and get her coming a little better. Alright, so we are outbound. I'm going to go ahead and level off right here. So now we're going to fly outbound for our minute. Our next heading is going to be 178 degrees, so I'm going to go ahead and move this thing over here to 178. Alright, we're getting pretty close to a minute. We're going to go ahead and start our turn to 178 degrees. Alright, so now we're level 2,500 feet outbound, 178 degrees. Again, we're going to go for a minute. We're losing a little bit of altitude here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull the manifold back to about 21 inches. I've got the RPM set at about 2,200 RPM, so we'll just leave that there. And now I'm going to do one up trim to try to rest, because we slowed down a little bit, so we're going to have to trim to hold our altitude. Alright, so we've been about a minute, so we're going to go ahead and make our left hand turn to 358 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and turn this guy around here to 358 degrees. So this will be a left-hand turn. One more up trim because we keep descending here. Alright, and we're set on LNAV. We've got 109.75 in the radio. We'll check that in just a second. Another up trim. Alright, so now we're leveling out 2,500 feet, 358 degrees. We'll check our frequency is 119, so we actually, let's see what we got here. Feel it, or let's see. Yep. So at the moment, our radio is tagged with the wrong. I'll pause this for just a second because for some reason it should be on 111. Let me go back over here. 109. It should be on 111. Oh, okay. So we're gonna switch the frequency. Alright, so now we're on 111.95 LNAV, and now we're climbing, which we don't want to do. So let's get back over here. We need to turn because we've flown through our localizer. Go back to the left here just a little bit so we can capture that again. Alright, we don't want to climb. Don't want to climb. Localizer's coming in, so I'm going to start a nice easy turn here to try to capture that. Not quite yet. So we're at 2,500 feet, capturing the localizer. So we're going to go ahead and get on our heading here a little bit. Alright, so now we're climbing for some reason. Alright, so now we're on the localizer, waiting for alright, so we're at 2,500 feet. We're going to be staying at 2,500 feet. I'm going to go one nose down because it keeps trying to climb for some reason. We've also gotten off the localizer for some reason. I don't know why. Alright, we are 3 miles from our final approach fix. For some reason, I'm showing that I didn't set this thing right here. It's supposed to be on 310, 313, somewhere around there. Alright, so we got to get a little bit further over here. Alright, so now we got it all tweaked. so we're going to start coming around here for the localizer. Glide slope is coming in, so we're almost to our final approach fix. Localizer is pegged. So gear is coming down. Alright, so the gear has come down and now we're in a 1,000-foot descent, 1,000-foot ascent. So I'm going to do one trim up and try to hold what we've got here. So another trim up because we're trying to get a 6 or 7. This thing is trying to fall out of the sky. So another trim up. Glide slope is looking good. Localizers, another trim up. Glide slope is still looking good. We are looking for 1,082 feet. We're getting a little bit to the left. The glide slope is looking good. Don't get too far over there. Glide slope's looking good.
3 mile final runway 31.
3 mile final, looking for 1,082. Glide slope is good. For 1,700 feet. Glide slope's looking good. A little bit to the left, of course, or to the right, of course. A little bit low.
500.
500 to go. High. Breaking out. A little bit there, a little bit low. Looking at the synthetic vision, we got everything looking good. Runway is straight ahead. Raise this up a little bit here so we can see, and there's the runway, 1,082, so that's missed approach. So I don't really care too much about landing the airplane, but that was a whole lot more pleasurable experience. So anybody that's having problems with this, you might try changing that augmentation. I'm not sure that the manual trim thing did anything, but the augmentation definitely has made it a lot more stable in the pitch, so it's a lot more controllable. It still doesn't fly like a real airplane, but it's a lot closer than what it was, so I may play around a little bit more with that 65% and see if I can get a little bit better. But I definitely am not going to complain about the way we just shot that approach. Everything worked really well.